Use the power of discovering new habits to create success in all areas of life. Body, fitness and nutrition, being, spirituality, passion and purpose, balance, marriage, kids and relationships, business, marketing, sales, leadership and systems. Transform your life by learning how habits work. And now your host, husband, father, entrepreneur, trainer, coach, and warrior, Jesse Buell.
Welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Buell, and today we're going to be talking about the habit of results. I have a special guest, a client of mine and a friend of mine, Bruce Adorian, who's on the show today. And we're going to be talking about results that he has gotten in his life since working inside a habit-based lifestyle. And then he's also here with his wife for this weekend and doing the marriage boot camp. So, hey, great to have you on today, man.
Good to be here, brother.
So we just finished up a workout, and we got a little taste. Bruce got a little taste of what it goes on in my gym every morning. So how you feeling, man?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be feeling this the rest of the day here. So I appreciate you pushing me because that was a lot different than what I normally do.
Yeah. So anyways, man, we've been working together since about January of this year, right?
Yeah, January.
Yeah. So let's talk about a few things. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is what if we were to lay out what's changed for you in the last 9 months. Give me probably the biggest thing that's changed for you just in your life since working with me and doing the habit-based lifestyle.
Yeah, well, just as you just said there, habits is when I get stressed out, I normally go back to resort back to the way I've done things in the past. And being with you and working with you has taught me how to use habits to help get me in power and positions in my life. And then whether that be through my spirituality, my body, my wife, or my business, is these habits have helped me get back centered. So I'm not going back to my default when I get stressed. I'm not getting the results that I want.
Yeah, and one of the things that often comes up is habits are easy to do when we're kind of on autopilot, but when we get stressed, something comes up in life, it's easy to revert back to kind of like autopilot and just go back to the normal things that we normally do and kind of get completely sidetracked. So what specific habits have you changed? Like if you think of any, what's like a few of the big ones?
I'd say for me, I mean, I did have a good morning routine, but my PM routine, at nighttime is getting in and getting things done at 8 o'clock at night, getting myself ready for the next day. So a lot of times, when things are just rolling all the time, we forget at nighttime to get these habits in place. So I've put a very strong regimen at nighttime to get a good night's sleep, to get up, to get myself in power the next day and show up as me.
Okay, so what are some specific things you do at night that we have worked on?
Yeah, so usually about 8 o'clock at night, I start with getting a tea. So I usually have some type of hot tea, which I've never been a tea drinker before. Then I jump in, read a book, read something, turn my phone off is the biggest thing here because I am a guy of distractions, so I get distracted a lot. And that phone going off has got me way off base, so I put the phone away. And I really just kind of settle in, and then I usually finish up with some type of rolling or something to get myself ready before going to bed and meditation.
Okay, so like foam rolling.
Foam rolling, yeah.
Okay, cool. So the tea, I think the tea was the recipe I gave you that I quit drinking coffee for about 4 or 5 months. I went back to drinking coffee, but the tea is amazing. So
it's really good.
So PM routine has been a big game changer for you. And I think a lot of it is, if you're listening in, Bruce kind of had a morning routine established. We've obviously tweaked some stuff in it, but having this PM routine is super powerful, because a lot of times, most of us just look at, okay, well, what's my AM routine? But realizing that the PM routine and the PM habits actually set up my morning, because if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm automatically going to fall behind inside of my AM routine. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be tired. And so really, what I'm hearing you say is like, listen, the PM habits have been a game changer for me, because they really set me up to wake up and be able to perform at the level I want to.
Yeah. And I'll go back just real quickly, Coach, is working with you for the last, 9 months is, that just the habits, just changing habits in all areas of my life. I mean, not only the PM, but all areas of my life has been a game changer. And I'm sure we'll talk about it through marriage. I mean, my marriage is definitely, that's why I'm here for my marriage, but, and then spiritually, all that. But this, the routine of a habit is helping me get back and get myself back centered.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So one of the things that I thought was really powerful working with you was, we worked on a kind of a referral program inside of your business, and, it was a huge game changer. But can you talk a little bit about what changed in your business once we kind of implemented this and started implementing some different strategies?
Yeah. So going back to what we talked about originally here is I get myself sometimes just into these other things, or just doing things and not getting results. And so I just continue to do them over and over again. And Coach Jesse actually shined a light on an area, and that was a referral program that we had, or I didn't have in my office. And so I literally stopped taking all the money that I was funneling into
Facebook
Facebook, buying crap leads or shit leads, and actually into a referral program. And that was an absolute game changer, because with that referral program, I took and funded all this money here into getting clients that are already doing business with me, know me, like me, and have value in what I do.
Right.
I completely changed the game here. So now when you look at the size of the funnel's all coming in from referrals based on the conversation we had, and you helped me with that.
Yeah. So, if people are listening to this, I think one of the things is what's happened the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even a little bit longer, since Facebook, all these other social media things, people have just started throwing money into, Facebook and social media, and it's kind of like fishing, but a lot of people don't really know what type of bait they're using. And so they just throw money in there expecting, hey, if I have a funnel, if I put money on Facebook ads, automatically people are going to come in. But what I always tell people is like, listen, your warmest traffic and your warmest leads come from referrals. And why not give the people that already know you, like you, and trust you the ability to make it easy for them to refer people to you, and then reward them for doing that, because they're your number one client. They're your number one case study, because they're already getting results with you. And not only that, why wouldn't they want to talk about their friends and family members if they're doing that? And so one of the things that we talked about earlier today is you went from, I think, number 13 to number 8 just in your area for sales, right, or production.
Yeah, and more importantly, before we did that, is I was negative over last year negative in business, and now, as I sit here today in September, positive sales trends going on right now. So it went from a negative sales trend to a positive sales trend by making one simple move, just taking money from one pocket, putting it in the other, and getting referrals.
Yeah, and do you know how many referrals you're getting every month?
I'm about 35, 40 referrals right now a month.
Okay, and what were you doing before?
1 or 2.
Okay, so
wasn't asking. They were all there. It just wasn't asking.
But realize this is when you don't ask, you have, like a 1%. It's like a 1% chance of getting a referral. When you do ask, you're increasing that by 350%. Like, you're a case study for that. And so really think about this. Even if you're listening to this and you're like, man, well, how do I ask for a referral? Like, how would someone ask for a referral? Like, what changed?
Yeah, so I do a process called Your World Conversation in my office, but literally I got a piece of paper, I think when you and I talked about it, and at the end of every meeting, as I'm asking my clients to take time to fill out a form, ask them if we provided value for them, and then they're filling out people's names And it's got 5 names on there. And I asked them to fill them all out, all 5 names of people that would benefit from that same conversation. And so again, wasn't asking. Now I'm asking, and people are giving referrals.
Right.
It's all based on the value that I'm giving them during that conversation.
Right. So you went from 1 referral, maybe 2, to asking and getting 35 to sometimes 40 referrals. And I'm guessing these are quality leads, quality people. How much do you think your business has increased just in the last? I mean, we've been doing this for about 4 or 5 months. I think you've been doing the referrals. How much do you think it's increased percentage-wise?
Well, the real numbers, I've had about a 10% increase.
Okay.
A 10% increase for me in the last 4 or 5 months. Imagine if I'd have done that the whole year, the increase that it would be out there. So 10 to 15, and we're just starting to gain traction on this right now.
Okay. And do you find yourself getting more and more every month, or do you find yourself about the same?
More and more, because again, it's just simply asking, getting the value. And as you said, the leads are good leads because they're people that I know. So when I pick up a phone, I can say, hey, Jesse referred me, told me to call you. It's a much easier conversation.
Yeah. And I always think of, even when I had my gym business, one of the first things we did is we'd say, hey, do you have anybody that you think would want to get the results that you've gotten or want to experience what you've experienced, just, working out with us just this 1 or 2 times. And, you find that most people want to refer people to you, but you have to make it easy. I find a lot of companies make it hard.
That's absolute. And again, for me, it was just, I got into this just doing the same thing over and over and over again, just buying leads. And it's simple. And I think a lot of times in business, I miss the simple things. I try to do the hard things. This is a simple thing for me to do, and it's shown major dividends.
Yeah, and I think about, even for me, I come from, the gym business. I come from, working in box gyms. I come from the personal training facilities, and a lot of times I think people don't really give us credit for how hard it is to get somebody in and to get them to work out and make a lifestyle change. But I always think of some of the best ideas I ever got were from people not even in my own industry, because they had a different perspective on things. And a lot of times in the gym business, you're used to being told no so many times that after a while you kind of get immune to it. And it's like, okay, well, no just is one step closer to a yes. And so, just being able to work with people who are in different industries with me has been really powerful, because I get to see kind of like the mindset side of the business of, okay, well, most companies aren't going to ask for referrals, especially up front. And so these are simple ways that I look at, hey, there's a crack in your business. Let's, focus on this and let's see what happens. And so to watch you increase your business just in the last 4 or 5 months, 10% is pretty big.
Yeah. And I mean, we're all in the people business,
right?
Or in the people business. And again, when I thought about what, and you told me that, I was like, oh my God, it's a very simple thing. So a habit, a routine, and now it's part of my everyday, what we do every day now. So it's not anything that's difficult. It's just a new habit that we formed in my office, and now we do it every day.
Yeah. And now, it's like every client that walks out of your door that doesn't do that, you just missed out on 5 people.
Yeah, and sales and the opportunity to connect with other people. So
right. Yeah, so that's awesome. So that's business. What's another area? We'll save your marriage and that for last, but what's another area that's been deeply impacted?
Yeah, body for sure is getting back into the routine. Consistency of working out has been huge for me this year, and something that is important. I really feel like when I am connected in my body, then I can do all other things. When I'm not, when I'm lethargic. And so you've helped me with getting up and consistently doing things each day.
Yeah, and one of the cool things is I had no idea you played college football, and were a badass back then. But I think it's cool to see where people are at now, and it's like, man, you still have that mindset of being a football player, knowing if you even played in college or played in high school, I think people have different mindsets when they've played sports at a high level than people who have never played sports.
Yeah, well, it's always in me. It's been in me.
Right.
And I'm 51 years old. I'm going to be 51 in October, and this is like something that I want to continue. I don't want to be the guy that's 60 some years old and sitting on a rocking chair. I want to continue on. So again, habits, getting up each morning. This has taught me just to keep things going here, and maybe not have to be the same workout that I did 15 years ago, but to consistently work out. And by the way, the workout this morning, dang.
Yeah, and what's cool is, the way that I, have kind of progressed and learned how to train over the years is, whether you're, a 51-year-old athlete, a 41-year-old athlete, 31-year-old athlete, 21-year-old athlete, it doesn't matter. Like, you work out at, where you're at, not where somebody else is. And I always tell people, is like, listen, like, my clients they'll work out next to somebody who's, a college athlete right now, and they'll keep up with them because, they've learned from a mindset perspective of, hey, like, focus on you and what you got going on you. And if you have the right mindset, you can push yourself along next to, some of these guys that are 20, 30 years old because you have a different mindset than they do.
Yeah. And, the other thing too is I'd say with the body angle was, I remember I was doing a Zoom call with you, and he could see through the Zoom call I was stressed out. And so this kind of follows under spirituality and body, but
yeah,
I literally did not have any way to get all this thing going on, the stress. And I remember you pointing that out, like, you're stressed. You could see it over the video. And so for me, that was something where I was going, okay, my body's like, you can literally see it on my face. And so I put some things in place for my body and spirituality, the meditation, to kind of get all these distractions going on so I could actually show up in life.
Yeah, and I think I remember the coaching call. I think you were injured, and you weren't able to work out. And I said, well, maybe you're not able to do what you were doing, but what are you able to do right now without injuring yourself more? And you're like, oh shit, I guess I could go ride the bike. I guess I could meditate. I guess I can do a lot of these things. But sometimes we stay stuck in the story of, I can't do what I've been doing or normally do, and so I just won't do anything. And so I think what you got there was kind of a mindset shift of, well, there's actually a lot of shit I can do. I'm just not doing it. And so, one of my gifts is to be able to get on a coaching call. That's why I like to be on Zoom. So if you're a client of mine, you will know this. I like to get on Zoom, and I like to read your energy and see what's going on. And you could just sit there a lot of times, and I'll kind of get an idea of what's going on just based on your body language.
That's the fact, because you read my mail that day, and I was not working out, and literally the next day I started walking again because I was stressed. I'm either all in or all out on something, and this helped me to say, okay, let's just do something. You can go to a gym and ride a bike. You can do something, and so literally the next day after you said, I see your stress, I got back on and started doing things and got myself back into the habits.
Yeah, and I always say is, like, movement is one of the best medicines you can do for yourself. And people are like, well, what should I do? I'm like, well, listen, like, just move, go for a walk, do whatever. But like, if you stay stuck, everything else stays stuck. Our mindset stays stuck, our attitude, all those things. And when we start moving and putting things in motion, what ends up happening is we actually start moving forward past whatever thing was holding us back. And so I think that's really powerful that, you did that. But not only that, but if you're listening to this, think about where you're staying stuck, whether it's in your body, your business or a relationship. And if you just move and begin to take action, you begin to move past that point of where you're stuck.
I was just thinking too, that's really when the referral thing started too. So when you think about when that happened, I was stuck in a lot of areas of my life and literally not all in. So that really was the turnaround too. And we had some breakthroughs on business and other areas of my life too. But it started off with, I was stuck in my body, and that got things rolling.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about, well, you're here today, and on Sunday morning, you're going to be diving into an experience with your wife called Marriage Boot Camp. And number one, before we get into the details of what was going on in your marriage, I just want to honor you, man, for taking a step in to take your marriage to the next level. Because here's the reality is most couples, most husbands are unwilling to step into this, and most wives are. And so, you know, just the fact that you're here taking your marriage to the next level is a huge honor to have you guys here.
Yeah, but hey, I appreciate you putting this on, because it is. I'm going to be married 20 years in December, and it is something. You know, my wife and I have had major issues, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But it is the one thing that I literally want to put all my energy and power in, because it shows up when my marriage is going well. It shows up every other area of my life. So this is super important to me. So
sure. So what kind of got you to this place of what are some of the things that were going on in your marriage just over the last, you know, well, let's say 20 years, but kind of the highlights of what are some things that kind of held you back or have held you back in your marriage?
Yeah. So, well, 20 years. Wow. You know, just like any couple, we started off strong. You get married and you have all these dreams, visions, goals, and we literally jumped in. Got married, bought a house, had a child, and then just started rolling in life. And I think just if I could summarize a few things, I didn't want these things to happen. I just didn't, you know, I didn't talk to my wife. We didn't communicate. We didn't have any, you know, these conversations. So we just kind of jumped into the rat race and just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And the biggest thing I could say for my marriage was that I just pretended like everything was okay. I just wanted to pretend like everything was good in our marriage, and that's what I wanted the outside to think, even though on the inside I knew something wasn't 100% right.
Right. And, you know, I think a big thing is we were taught as kids our parents kind of pretended that everything was okay. So we picked up on that. And if you come from a religious background, I think that gets intensified even more as you have to pretend even more that everything's okay, because you have, you know, the church kind of like portraying that everything needs to be okay. And then you have kind of what you were brought up in as far as your parents, where they pretended everything was okay. So it's like you have kind of this place of, well, I actually need to pretend everything's okay, so nobody actually knows what's really going on. And meanwhile, you know, you're hurting, your wife's hurting, and it's kind of like, man, I feel like I'm living this lie, but I can't stand how I feel. So
that's why, I mean, for me, it takes courage to hire a coach,
right,
and to work with you, because I could continue just to pretend things the rest of my life and not get anywhere, just be stuck in that same thing. But yet when I have someone that I'm actually can see things and help me navigate life, because I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't want a marriage I didn't get married and say, hey, I hope in 20 years we don't talk to each other and do all that. That was not the design. But it you know, literally over years, that compounding of years and years and years of that, there were times of good. I mean, we have a very good marriage, but
sure.
But there was also times just of a shit show type thing, and and you know, after you do that for years and you don't deal with it, it can. My wife and I almost landed in divorce 2 years ago.
Yeah, and you know, I always think of, you can have compounding interest in, you know, great habits, and you can have compounding interest in bad habits, whether it's in your marriage. And so if there's a problem, you know, that dates back 18 years ago, well, 18 years of that compounding interest on that problem all of a sudden becomes a huge issue in your marriage 18 years later. And so, you know, I find most couples have issues, number one, with communication, and they don't communicate well. They don't know how to tell each other what they actually want. And so then neither one of them knows. It's kind of like, hey, your wife isn't clear on what she wants, so therefore, how do you fulfill on something your wife's not clear about? And then at the same time, you don't really know what you want. And then it's like, well, how does my wife give me what I want? And it becomes this thing of where neither one of us are giving each other what we want. And so right then and there, we become disconnected. And so then things get brought into the equation, like, you know, kids, you know, stress, money, sex. And those become the issues. And it's like, well, I actually have a sex problem. It's like, well, no, that's where it comes up, but that's not actually the problem. Then it's like, well, no, I have a money problem. And then it's like, well, no, that just magnifies the bigger issue going on. And then it's like, well, we have kids. It's like, okay, well, that's just magnifying the real issue. And the real issue is you've become disconnected, and we're almost afraid to bring up the things, that are uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's absolutely what happened in our marriage, or what's going on in our marriage right now. And I think about, I can really at times like plug in and go all in on my marriage, and I've done that for a season, and then all of a sudden I pull out or pull away, and then it starts falling apart. And I mean, even the lead up to this, and I know we're on day 9 or 10 of this right now, it's been amazing, because my wife and I have uncovered just the beginning points of things that we haven't talked about in years, in 20 years of marriage. That is just, and we're being able to communicate, and it's okay. We're having conversations. She's telling me how she feels, and it's okay. Instead of me getting defensive and wanting to attack, it's like, oh, hey, you telling me how you feel, and it's okay. And you've created that experience right now for me to be able to. It's a safe place for us to talk, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I find most couples don't know how to create a safe place, so then they get defensive when their wife's like, hey, I'm not really attracted to you right now, and it's like, well, why the hell not? Instead of, hey, I could see or I could understand how you feel that way, because I feel that way sometimes too. And then it's like, oh shit, I actually feel better saying that. Now you're even more attractive than you were before. But we don't think about it that way with couples. And, many of the problems that our couples have coming in, they're all the same. But where I started to realize was when I started to grow inside of, personal development and myself, what I started to create was a natural gap between me and my wife that started to expose, our communication issues, sex and intimacy, even just me showing up as a man. And so that's where we really had to dive in and start working on each other and say, listen, like, you have to come with me, or you stay down, and that means I'm going to have to stay there, and I don't want to stay there anymore. So we're going to have to grow together. And I think it's really cool to watch, your wife went through 30-day program with me. You went through the 30-day program. You kept coaching. But as you kept coaching, you started to see this gap between you and your wife, and you started to realize, hey, she's got to come with me. We got to get on the same page, because we're 51. Like, let's make these last 30, 35, 40 years the best years of our life.
Yeah, it's an interesting gap, because and what I do in a living is I identify gaps, and then I look at solutions. And the thing is, I could do that in the business world, but I couldn't do it in my marriage for so long. Or I didn't know how to fill that gap, and this has just created the experience where we can just talk and figure out how do we, as Jesse said, how can I come back to her, or does she need to come to where I'm at, and just go to the middle, and for us to have those conversations. Yeah.
So what's been some things that have changed for you in your marriage just in the last 9 months?
Last 9 months, a lot of changes. I mean, really, and it's been amplified in the last 2 or 3 months. And so the changes really for us are being able to communicate. And that is I believe for any marriage is the start of anything, is you're able to communicate with each other and be honest with each other. So it's changed for us sexually, intimacy wise, even having conversations. And one of the biggest things we have always fought about is money, money. And that's me. That's me, that's my childhood. And so having conversations on what's important and what do each of us want, so that money thing does not keep coming up over and over again. Right.
And, money is a huge thing that comes up, but I think it's often, it's based off of, a lot of it's based off control and feeling out of control with money, or feeling like I'm spending too much money. But really what it is it's a block from you experiencing abundance and your wife's experiencing abundance. And it's a pretty common thing that comes up in marriage. But what I will say is this: what you are going to experience in the next, 2 days is going to uncover all of that stuff, and it's going to give you guys the ability and the space to begin to work on that. And so I think it's really powerful you're here. But I also want to point out that your marriage is actually in a pretty good spot. It may be in one of the best spots it's been, but you're here because you want to take your marriage to the next level. And so I want to, make this clear is we don't have people come in whose marriage is broken. My place is not to fix anybody's marriage. My place is to help people go to the next level in their marriage because, and to identify what's holding them back from doing that so they can accelerate their results as a couple. And that's, I think people have a misconception of marriage boot camp. It's like, hey, if you're coming here, your marriage is broken. It's like, it's not about your marriage being broken. It's about taking it to the next level because that's what I did, in my marriage. And so I'm not here to fix a broken marriage. I'm here to help you guys uncover, hey, here's what's holding us back, and here's how we're going to get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, this wouldn't have been on the radar. We're at a place right now where I want to grow with my wife, and I want our marriage, as you said, the next 20, 30, whatever years is for us to continue to grow and have conversations. And my wife said one thing during this whole thing that came up is freedom. And that's kind of like, that's like the big theme right now for us is just freedom, free to be us. So we don't have to fake and pretend anymore. And that'd be in any marriage. I mean, no marriage is perfect. No marriage is going to be, and my marriage for sure isn't perfect, but the freedom just to be who we are would be powerful.
Yeah. And your wife, so, I had a question yesterday, which was like, what's a possibility in your marriage? Your wife did like a minute video, and I was like, right away in my mind, I was like, I'm going to tear her a new one. But she said, I want freedom. And I'm like, man, like, it's short and it's simple, but like most of us just want freedom in our life, in our marriage, in all areas to be ourselves. And that's it. There's nothing more to say other than that. And so I thought that was really powerful. It's like, man, all you want is freedom, but like there's a huge price to pay. Think about in our country, the price of freedom that, many people have to pay. But think about in our marriage, are we willing to pay that price to have freedom in our marriage? And I would say that most couples are not willing to change to experience freedom in their marriage, experience freedom in their relationships. And so they would rather stay stuck. So when your wife said that, I'm like, man, that's a powerful statement. And I'm actually not going to make her say anything else. But I am going to test her on it all week.
Yeah. Well, I just thought about our marriage. I mean, if we started from the place of freedom, where could you go from there? Instead of a phrase of me controlling, manipulating, if it was from freedom, where could we go from there? And that's I know in the next 2 days I'm gonna
we're gonna uncover all that. So, well, hey man, is there anything that you would tell someone out there listening to this that has not worked inside a habit-based lifestyle or not been coached by me?
Yeah, here's the truth, and we talked about it this morning. Is I'm a guy that's gonna go out there and do things, but when I hire a coach, is I go to the next level on here. So Jesse's not here or Coach Jesse has never been like, get up in the morning and do this and do this. He just creates an environment for me to actually step into who I am and step up to the next level. And so I don't want somebody that's going to be in my face every day going, do this, because that's not who Jesse's been in my life. But what he has been is an accountability for me. And just like we worked out this morning, I worked out harder than I've done in a long time. And really it's just because I was side by side and I just wanted to step up my game and go to the next level. So if you're a guy that's sitting out there or woman sitting out there and you're like literally stuck in life, just like I was down there, this is, part of the habit-based lifestyle is going to the next level and partnering with somebody that can help you get you there.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So, habit-based lifestyle is about accelerating the results. It's not that you won't get there on your own, but you will get there, 10 to 20 times faster doing this habit-based lifestyle and living this habit-based lifestyle. So, hey, man, I want to thank you for being on. I appreciate you being here, and I'm excited for you and what's to come over the next 2 days and what we uncover.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually going back on and talking about this after, because I do believe there are going to be some huge accelerator results.
Yeah. So if you guys are looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in the Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets, where I'll be dropping daily habits to help you live to your potential. If you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle, or be part of one of our marriage boot camps, feel free to reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.